Hi everyone. I decided to get on here and go over the 10 principles of intuitive eating in a way that I've never really broken it down for y'all before. So this is a free crash course in intuitive eating, so potentially you can learn more about it and see if it might be a good fit for you. So if you are tired of hating your body and you feel like you're at war with your body, constantly having to be vigilant about your weight, if you are confused about what to eat or experience any loss of control eating like binge eating or emotional eating, then this is going to be a really valuable model for you. So intuitive eating, like I said, it is a model. So that means it has a cohesive set of behavioral principles and it provides a logical framework for implementation. So it's not theory, it's not vague, it has a clear structure. Now, while you can kind of take these, plug and play with these principles based on where you're at in your journey with food in your body, so you don't necessarily need to go in order, but still, like, there are 10 principles that provides you with a nice framework. And so intuitive eating as a model, it's very well defined, it can be objectively examined, and it has a validated test. So there have actually been over 125 published research studies now at this point that prove that intuitive eating works, that it has positive physical and psychological health benefits. So there's a really long list of the health benefits that intuitive eaters get to enjoy, but I'll give you just a few. Intuitive eaters tend to have better HDL, good cholesterol. Intuitive eaters tend to have lower triglycerides. Intuitive eaters tend to have lower blood pressure. Intuitive eaters tend to have less instances of eating disorders, no disordered eating. Intuitive eaters have higher resting metabolic rates. And just overall greater life satisfaction, less stress, a greater overall sense of well-being. And so this isn't just me telling you, like, I'm an intuitive eater, it works, or all of my clients have learned to be intuitive eaters and they have freedom in their lives now, they have energy. All of that is true, but there's also 125 published research studies that they've done across the world that prove that this is true for hundreds of thousands of people. So intuitive eating was created in 1995 by two registered dietitians. Their names are Evelyn Tribole and Elise Resch. I was trained directly to become a certified intuitive eating counselor by Evelyn Tribole, one of the co-founders. And so if you are at all interested in this model, and you might not know yet if you're interested, you might want to wait and stick around and see what it's all about. But if you are interested in learning how to stop dieting and create a peaceful, easy, effortless relationship with food, then I recommend working with someone who was trained and certified by the original intuitive eating pros. And so you'll know if they were trained and certified by Evelyn Tribole or Elise Resch if they have the trademarked logo somewhere on their marketing content. So for me, it's on the About section of my website. So if you want to see what the logo looks like, if you're interested in working with me or another healthcare provider, I would encourage you to check that out, because there are, unfortunately, healthcare providers who will co-opt the term intuitive eating and they're not using this model and they're still promoting diets, or they're promoting a toxic weight loss mentality. And so if you are serious about getting help to invest in healing your relationship with food for the rest of your life, then you're going to want to work with one of us, thousands of healthcare professionals at this point who have trained directly under the original co-founders of intuitive eating. So like I said, it was created in 1995 when the first edition of the book came out. Since then, there have been multiple renditions of or revisions, I should say, of the original intuitive eating text. And the latest edition just came out in 2020, which I think is really incredible, because since 1995, Evelyn and Elise have been working really hard on this and updating it with the latest research and updating it with the latest research over and over. And they'll continue to do that until they die, truly. And so we know that the 2020 edition has even more research, and it's really, it's very relevant, and it's just truly a life-changing text. And so The headline is something like Intuitive Eating, a revolutionary program that works. Something about ditching dieting forever. I'm sorry, I don't remember it off the top of my head. Make peace with food. And so, yeah, it absolutely is a revolutionary program that works. And like I said, that's been proven not just in my own life, but in the lives of my clients and the hundreds of thousands of people who've implemented intuitive eating in their own lives. But, you know, there's all of this research that supports that intuitive eating is an adaptive eating style. And so there are 10 principles to intuitive eating, and really the hallmark is principle number 1. And principle number 1 is reject the diet mentality. And this is so crucial to the journey of becoming an intuitive eater. Intuitive eating takes a very strong stance against diets. Diets promote weight stigma. Weight stigma and weight discrimination is an oppression. And the co-founders of intuitive eating don't tolerate that. And so I think it's really important that we understand that intuitive eaters are anti-diet culture. And we want to promote physical and psychological health and wellness for the rest of one's life. But for as long as they're stuck in diet mentality, they're going to continue to revert back to micromanaging their food, controlling their food intake, and food obsession, right? All of the negative health ramifications that come with diets. And so that interferes with the intuitive eating process. Why is it so important that we reject the diet mentality? A billion reasons, but number 1, diets don't work. Diets don't work for weight loss. So if your goal is, I'm going to go on a diet to lose weight, 95% of diets fail. In fact, 2/3 of people who diet regain all of their lost weight and then some within 2 to 5 years, if not way sooner. So it's really a futile effort to even go on a diet in the first place because they don't produce sustainable weight loss like we are promised that they will. And so that's the most insidious thing about diet culture is diet culture is like, this will work and this will give you all of the things that you want. And if you can't stick to the diet, it's your fault because you don't have enough willpower or discipline. And the research shows us that that is totally false because it doesn't take willpower and discipline to stick to a diet. Diets go so strongly against our biology that they'll truly, like, it's a very, very small portion of the population that can actually stick to a diet long term. What are some of the ways that diets go so strongly against our biology? Well, when we diet, when we restrict food or restrict carbs or we watch what we eat and we are very intentional about our portions, any type of dieting, I mean, even if it's not an official diet, if you're counting calories, right, you don't need to be on Noom and you don't need to be on Weight Watchers to be on a diet. And so anytime we're doing any of that, we are promoting fat storage, we are slowing our metabolism, and we are causing our brains to pump out more of the neurotransmitters and the hormones that cause cravings and drive us to eat. This often results in binge eating. Dieting is also one of the strongest predictors of weight cycling, which is that loss and regain of weight. Weight cycling in and of itself is a risk factor for cardiovascular problems, death from all causes, cardiovascular disease, right? So dieting guarantees weight cycling, and a lot of people, the most prominent researchers in this space would say that the fastest way to gain weight is to go on a diet. So we reject diet mentality not only because diets promote weight stigma and fat phobia and weight discrimination, and diets don't respect body diversity, and diets don't promote physical health, but they also just don't work. They say that they're gonna do one thing and they don't. And so we reject diet mentality for so many reasons, but that's just in a nutshell, some of them. And it's really, not to mention how diets steal our time, our money, our energy. They prohibit us from engaging in memories with our family and our friends and being able to freely take satisfaction in our food, right? Diets cause us to feel guilt and shame around food. So step 1, reject the diet mentality. After that, we can kind of plug and play with most of these depending on where you're at in your individual food journey. And that's why it's really powerful for my clients to be able to work one-on-one with me, because we can see like, hey, what's gonna fit based on where you're at this week, and it's very customized and very individual. But still, like if you are reading the book or going through the intuitive eating workbook and you're learning about these principles, then you can kind of decide what suits you and when you're ready to implement some of these stages. So honor your hunger is principle 2. So the idea behind honoring your hunger is diets teach us to mute our hunger. Diets teach us to not pay attention when we feel hunger signals because it's not time to eat, or I have to restrict my food for as long as possible until I'm ravenous and I'm eating everything in the kitchen. And so in that way, diets work as a huge trust disruptor. They teach us we can't trust our bodies. We can't trust our hunger signals to tell us when to nourish our bodies. And so we ignore them until eventually we, most of the time, end up binge eating anyway. So honoring our hunger is really important for just for self-trust and for body respect, but it's also a proactive approach to preventing a binge and preventing all of the things that come with diets, which is weight gain, which is weight cycling, which is slower metabolisms and fat storage. So honoring your hunger will promote metabolic health, but it's also just a really powerful way to, again, teach your body that there's gonna be food when it needs food. So you're healing some of the physical and psychological trauma that diets have caused your body, okay? So honoring your hunger is gonna teach your cells that there is food available. There's no food scarcity anymore. We're not in a famine, okay? And that way your body will feel safe to potentially even release weight and start to function again, and to start to keep your metabolism going instead of stalling out when there's no food around consistently, okay? So then principle 3 is make peace with food. So the idea here is to reconcile our forbidden food issues. So if you are a person who has been a chronic dieter who has dieted for decades, like a lot of my clients, you are very used to having a list of good and bad foods, of all of these foods are off limits, okay? And we know that having a list of off limits foods backfires big time, because then we just fixate on the foods that we can't have until we end up binging on them. So making peace with food is about being able to trust yourself around all foods, so that it's not a big deal if one of your historically forbidden foods is around and it's available. You'll know exactly what to do, okay? Number 4 is challenge the food police. So this is the mental component, the cognitive behavioral component of intuitive eating. So there's a lot of negative self-talk and a lot of policing that goes on in our head when it comes to food. If you have had a diet mentality in the past, or if you still have a diet mentality, then there's going to be, ooh, are you sure you want to eat that? Or if you eat that, you have to run more tomorrow. Or if you eat that, you should probably go to the gym later. You know, there's a lot of policing around, like, ooh, how much XYZ is in this food, right? It's an obsession. And so it interferes with our ability to enjoy our food, with our ability to have a healthy relationship with food. And so principle 4 teaches us how to remedy some of those cognitive distortions and how to start rewiring our brain to have more rational thoughts around food. Principle 5 is about the satisfaction factor, and this is truly like the hub of intuitive eating. So the idea is when you are satisfied with your food, you tend to need less of it. So there is a mindful eating component to intuitive eating, and I see that really come into play in principle 5, the satisfaction factor, where if you're paying attention and you're mindful and you are enjoying your food, then you're going to be able to self-regulate. You won't need portion control because you will know when you've had enough, and you won't go looking for other things to satisfy you after a meal. And so kind of back to this idea of you'll know when you've had enough, that goes into principle 6, feel your fullness. So a lot of times when we are mindlessly eating, or when we are binge eating, or even just eating like with a diet mentality, we aren't able to really recognize what fullness feels like in our bodies, and so we eat past the point of fullness. We see this in chronic overeaters. And so this is one of the powerful skills of an intuitive eater, is to be able to feel, when am I full? And again, that helps you to self-regulate. You don't need a diet or anyone telling you when to stop eating because you got this. Principle 7 is cope with your emotions with kindness. So this addresses quote unquote emotional eating, and just kind of gives you some more tools around how to cope with your emotions in really kind and compassionate ways. And then principle 8 discusses body respect. This is where we'll go over body acceptance, how to have a better body image. And also we start to examine some of our internalized fat phobia. And we start to really internalize the ways in which dieting has caused us to perpetuate weight stigma and weight discrimination for ourselves and for other people. And we learn from an intuitive eating self-care framework how to make respectful choices to our bodies, okay? And then principle 9, of course, is movement. You might call this exercise, you might call this fitness, we call it movement. And that's basically how can I move my body in ways that are enjoyable and thus sustainable, okay? And then principle 10, of course, intuitive eating was created by 2 registered dietitians. They have Masters of Science degrees in nutrition science. So of course there's gonna be a nutrition component. And so that's where we discuss how to make nourishing choices for our bodies so that they can feel their best physically and so that we can feel our best just overall, mentally, physically, spiritually, and all of that. So in a nutshell, that is intuitive eating. And if you're like, I need this in my life, I am done dieting, I am so sick of constantly the endless and soul-crushing pursuit of weight loss, then this is for you. And I would love to be able to teach you how to implement it. I would recommend a best next step for you would be to enroll yourself in the Make Peace with Food Fundamentals online course that I offer. So I invite you to participate in that. And it breaks down week by week how you can start implementing these principles systematically and safely in your own life. There's weekly video lessons in the course, there's articles, there's personal email check-ins, there's yoga classes every single week. And then there's also a bonus week that includes the emotional eating mini course. And it includes a free coaching session with me to discuss how it's going, how are you implementing all of these things, and then you can have an opportunity for us to kind of work together and sort through some of this. So if you're interested in that course, you can enroll at mariascrimenti.com/courses. But I highly encourage you to consider how this might help you make peace with food, heal your relationship with food in your body, and end the war with your weight and with food forever. Intuitive eating is a lifelong commitment. And so that's one thing where I will get potential clients who've never really heard of intuitive eating, and they're like, I'm afraid that this is just me. It's not different. I'm afraid that this is just me trying another program, right? And so what I'll tell you there is like, it's actually completely different from all of these other weight loss or diet programs that you've tried, because it's explicitly anti-diet. It's the opposite of what you've tried before. And it's a health promoting way to eat. Like I said, you can go back to the beginning of this video where I talked about all of the myriad ways that intuitive eating improves your physical and psychological health. But this is totally different from anything you've done in the past, because we reject the diet mentality. And I'm gonna bet no other program that you've done has explicitly rejected the diet mentality. And this is a lifelong commitment. This is a way to eat and to nourish your body and respect your body for life. And so it's a process. And so that is just one kind of important point that I wanna make is you're investing in yourself for the long term if you decide to adopt an intuitive eating model. It's not a fad. It's been around since 1995, and it's consistently updated with evidence-based research. So, you can be rest assured that you are investing in something that is proven effective and that has the potential to massively transform your life. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, maria@mariascrimenti.com, or you can shoot me a private message. But I'd be happy to see how I can support you in your journey toward ending chronic dieting, healing your relationship with food in your body, and to really just improving your overall life satisfaction long term. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.